Okay, y'all, thank you for showing up. When we start, I need a time tracker. Who wants to yell at me at a certain time? Awesome. You get the job at 26 after. You can even yell if you want.
So 126?
126, yes.
Great.
Sure. Okay. So, I'm Mark Stephan, and I'll introduce myself, but are you in the right room? Could someone shut the door, please? These people are annoying me. No competing with the speakers out there. Okay. Thank you to our sponsors. The sponsors are amazing. You too should be a sponsor someday. So talk to your companies about next February's event. But be sure to thank them out there, take their paperwork, their swag, and leave your business card. Okay, so I'm Mark Stephan, and why am I here? Why am I up in the front? So I have led, for many years, many groups of people interviewing, trying to get in companies like Facebook and Google, and I've mentored them, trained them, I've been one of them, and after hundreds and hundreds of mock interviews and working with people, I've kind of come up with some things that I think are really important to getting the product job that you want. And so that's why you should listen to me, maybe. But what else do? I run 2 startups, ProductHired. You can see on my shirt, and that's not advertising. Shh, don't tell the people. Credia, and my co-founder for Credia is right back there. Murat, raise your hand. He's all the way from Istanbul, Turkey, for us today. My day job, I am Director of Knowledge at Broadway Technology. Sounds really cool. I went for that job's title. It was just amazing.
Are you doing Lion King or anything?
Do I do what? Lion King? What? Broadway. Oh. No, we're a fintech company. Experience, 19 plus years of doing something like this. And of course, just like you probably, or a lot of you maybe, I have experience in looking for jobs. And I also have experience in hiring as a hiring manager. I lead so many meetups, and I'm thinking about another one, why not more? So if you're interested in a product job meetup, reach out to me. And I've written articles and I've written hiring articles. So enough about me. So what we'll hopefully cover in this short time that I have, because it's a town hall and I want to leave a lot of time for questions and answers, probably more questions than answers. How to prepare before submitting for a role. So like if you want to get the role, it all begins before the role, right? Finding a job and applying, interviewing well, and then I'll talk about resources. So let's talk about before you submit a role. So I'm going to break these down into getting recommendations, giving recommendations, resume, everybody focuses on the resume, writing, job club, network, LinkedIn, Indeed, Improv, so on and so forth. So let's take a deeper look at recommendations. By the way, I'm going to blow through this. This is like an hour-long presentation I'm doing in 20 minutes, okay? Guys, believe it or not, people actually do read recommendations that are real. And so when you read through someone's LinkedIn profile, how many of you have recommendations on your LinkedIn profile? Okay, great. How many of them are actually real? Okay, great. I think it's almost the same number. LinkedIn recommendations are important when they start evaluating truly who you are. The best way to get recommendations, I always say, is to give recommendations. And so as a product manager, as a product lead, every time we do a product launch, I write recommendations for my team. And I don't just say like, good job, I actually I have a template on the things that I want to pull out that are specific to that person and to that role. Which means when you read my recommendations, I actually am giving a recommendation that that person who reads it someday will know that I actually worked with this person, that I cared and thought enough about it, that I actually wrote details. Why is this important? Because when I ask for recommendations, I ask for the same thing. I actually give them a template, and I'm saying you can write whatever you want, but these are the things that you might consider. Like these are the highlights that I did right here. These are the metrics I hit. These are the impact I made, right? And then this is how you might do it. Write whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to write, but, be as, the more specific, the better for me, because what else would you write a recommendation? It's to help me. So it's a give and take relationship. Write recommendations. I've written over 50 recommendations. Actually, I don't know, how many. How many did I say? 59. That was as of last year. And I received 41. Okay? And those are mainly 41 well-written recommendations. So let's talk about your resume. Okay? Enter the opinion zone. Okay. Have you ever sent your resume to someone and say, can you review it and tell me what you think? How many? Raise your hand. Yeah, pretty much everyone. And have you sent it to multiple people and they all give you very divergent pieces of information? Mm-hmm. Exactly. The reason is because no one knows. It's a mystery. And so when you're writing a resume, there's a couple things to keep in mind, right? Is that your resume has one purpose, is to get you to the next step. And how you submit a resume, you need to consider, is this going to a human being? Or is this going to some machine learning robot from hell? Okay? If it's going to a human being, simplicity, one-page resumes, that's my personal opinion. People will fight me this on every day. I have 19 years of experience and it fits on one page. Okay? College students send me their resumes and it's like 5 pages. And I'm like, dear God, who do you think you are? Right? But part of product management is being able to filter through all your information and getting the right words in the right order with the right metrics and leaving out the less important stuff. And so you're actually product managing your own resume. That's why I'm a big believer in the one-page resume. They literally spend 30 seconds reading that. So why, you may ask, why do I have 4 pages up here? Right? Well, it gets complicated. Because you have things called ATSs, applicant tracking systems. So if you ever apply online, which you should never do, funny because I run a job site and you would think I would tell people to do that, but actually networking is the very best way to do it. If you can get into human hands, that is the way you should do it. Especially in Austin, Texas. You should network the blank out of everything. People are very relational here. It's about who you know in Austin, Texas. So if you just think you're going to submit online, good luck. 80% of the jobs that I posted, that I applied to in San Francisco, I got a response to online. 95% of the jobs I applied to online in Austin, Texas, got 0 response. Right? And it's not without trying, right? So understand, like Austin is a who you know city. But one thing is, there's my one pager, right? You see I have a bit.ly link to my recommendations. I throw in an extra page sometimes of the highlights of my recommendations, right? I kind of put really big words to make a little big impressive sometimes, depending on the job. And this is called a T page. Anybody know what a T page is? 1 person, 2 people. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So basically it's all about keywords. So when I apply online to a company that I know has an ATS, that a computer system is going to scan my resume, I throw out the one resume rule. I have another resume that's 5 pages. And then I create keywords and I compare it to the job description and I run it through a thing called job scan, which you can get here. I do get credits if you use that thing. It's just credits for free jobs. Anyways, and I run it through and it tells me my resume, what percentage of it is actually matching that job description. I am a well-qualified individual and I've gotten like initial pass, 20%. And you're like, what? Right? Well, it's because you're running that one pager through and you scrub all the extra Excel or Microsoft Word or things off of that. But those matter when you're doing keyword matching, believe it or not. And so when you use things like job scan, you want to get about, it's debatable, I would say try to go for an 80% match for that role. That means you're going to be adding words, removing, well, you don't need to remove words. And this, basically, what you do is you enter each sentence, this is a T page, of what the requirements are, and you kind of state how you meet those requirements. This is not for a human, mind you. This is for the evil computers who are going to take over our jobs someday, okay? And if it matches a certain percentage, then it will send it on to the recruiter, where I have, maybe a 3-page resume that they can look at, right? Again, not optimal, please don't submit it online. Try to find people, if at all possible, okay? we'll come back to this if you have questions. Writings. So one of the things I've noticed about important, like people who really do well, is they have a brand, okay? This is stuff you need to do before you ever apply for a job. You need to write articles. Medium, I highly recommend Medium. So, one thing that I recommend is like pick a website that you use, rip it apart. Do usability studies on it. Do user research on it. I've actually have some, a long time ago. In fact, one thing I did, every time you go interview at a company, you do a case study and you have homework, and publish it online. Yeah, seriously. I did an interview years ago for Snap Kitchen. It was a lot of work, and I didn't get the job. But I got 4 lovely articles out of that, and people are still upvoting that sucker, right? So definitely, reuse your work. But suggest improvements, write it up, and then before you publish, this is what I normally do, and I recommend other people, send it to that product team. You'll know who they are. So if you're evaluating the Facebook feed, send your write-up to the Facebook team PM. You can generally find out who these people are, and say, hey, I'm going to publish this article. Take a look at it, and give me your feedback. I'm going to publish it in a week, right? You'd be amazed how many interviews I got and stuff like this. I looked at the Skyscanner. I think I did one on Skyscanner. And I did an analysis of their mobile app. It sucked. And, I did user research. I videotaped everything and everyone. And what I did is I submitted it, sent it over to the PMs, got an interview, right? And so, anyways, write up a lot. Job Club. So this is something that's kind of new here in Austin. And Dan Corbin actually gave a talk about this earlier today. I highly recommend this. We're going to be talking more about this later this fall. Go to productjobclub.com. But basically the idea is you're with a peer group. It's like a mastermind group for people doing product search, or job search. And rising tides lift all boats. It's really important, and I think this is going to kind of go in alignment with the job meetups that we're wanting to do. So definitely go to the site if you're interested. You can read all about it here. And that's what I'm going to say there. Network. Okay, so this is the most important thing of Austin. If you forget everything else, this is what you need to remember. Austin is a networking city. I see you care about networking. You're actually here. Okay. We have too many product meetups here in town. We have Product Inc., we have Product Lead, we have Product at Work, we have ProductCamp, we have Women in Product. And there's actually others. I just ran out of bullet spaces, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make another column. We actually, most of us do try to work together. We talk a lot. We try to figure out how to do things together. But these are all opportunities for you to get out, to be seen, to see who's hiring, to network, and then to have coffees afterwards. So I heavily, strongly recommend that. I also recommend this company called KarmaPond. It's free, and it's actually based here in Austin. And KarmaPond is basically you sign up, and then if you need anything, you email them, and then they email everybody in the group anonymously, and saying what you need, and people reach out and they help. And I've actually helped several people find jobs through KarmaPond, and some people have tried to help me find some stuff through KarmaPond. So I definitely check out KarmaPond. And productinaustin.com is a site that has, I think, most of these meetup organizations on it. It's kind of like the unified site that we're trying to create. And we also have a Slack community. You should all be part of the Product in Austin Slack community. You got a finger.
You don't think that our age is an issue in Austin, and maybe we should just leave? Not if you let it.
Age. Let's leave that for the Q&A. Can you hold it? Because that's a discussion. Okay, let's move on. LinkedIn. Fill it out, guys. Like a lot. Like you complete, again, it's all about keyword search. Have a great summary, keywords, details of roles, create attachments, images, screenshots of your launches, write-ups of your launches, recommendations, add everyone you can. If you are a gold miner in Nigeria and you want to sell me diamonds and you invite me, I will actually add you until you annoy me and I remove you. So I just add people like mad. Most of them are fake, but again, you don't know. You don't know. Maybe that diamond miner wants, to invest money in a startup. You never know. So, but use your LinkedIn. Okay. So one of the things, again, before you start your job search, one of the things you should be consider is a job as a service companies, or interview as a service companies, or whatever. I don't even know what to call them. I don't even know if they have a name. Indeed Prime is one, Vettery is one, and Hired is one. How many of you have used these services? Okay. How many of you, this is the first time you've ever heard of these services? Gotta do better advertising, Indeed. So these are basically, you sign up, they approve you, so they actually kind of do a pseudo interview. It's not really good, but it's a pseudo interview. They basically vet you, they help you create a profile, and then they have specific companies that they try to match you with. So it's a little bit more of an advanced job site, but Hired kind of started the model, and then Indeed copied, and then Vettery saying, hey, don't forget us. And so, but all of these people have product jobs. They have different strengths in different cities. I'll tell you the truth, product management is not strong in Austin for these companies. But you can try, you never know, maybe there's a hiring spree. So let's talk about finding and applying. So again, networking. I've found most of the best jobs you would ever want are never published, okay? So you've got to network. That's the only way you're going to find out about them. There's product focused boards, so you have job boards. Obviously I have one, Mind the Product is another one, Product School has one. So these are all product focused sites that actually have job boards. I definitely recommend taking a look at them. General job boards, you have Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor. They're useful for different things. To be honest, I generally don't use any of these, especially these guys. What I do is I find a job, but I never apply through them. You find the job, then you go dig through your Glassdoor, whether or not you really want to work there, and then you try to figure out who the hiring manager is, and then you try to look through LinkedIn, and then you make an email, and then you have a coffee, right? So all these job sites are really useful for the things they do, but again, networking and actually meeting these people is very important. Remote work, if you're into remote work, there's other sites for product management as well. So one of the things that I strongly recommend, especially if you want companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, who does not want to work at those companies? Okay, so that's actually a lot of people who do. I thought it was reverse psychology there. Okay. So, they're hard to get into, right? That's why everybody wants to get into them. I like interviewing them just because I have fun at the interviews, right? They're just like, fly me out to California, I can go visit my friends, and I get to go into interviews that are really, really fun, yet difficult, right? And so, so I definitely say, hey, you should try to practice at least some of these Google and Amazon interviews. They are a certain style that companies copy, right? And most of my training that I do, mentorship, is around there. By the way, I don't charge for that training. I just help people, right? I'm not making money right here. But the Google and Amazon training, it's you have to prepare months before. Months before. You need to start preparing technical, how you answer, because they're very formulaic on how they ask, like they want their answers. And so you have to learn the pattern. So get beachhead into those communities. So find people who have worked at Google, people who are interviewing at Google, and start getting into those communities so that you can start picking up what were the interview questions. You obviously can get some of this from Glassdoor, but they change them up. And so, I've actually talked to someone who interviewed and then I interviewed, and they used almost the exact same questions on me. It was kind of sad. I was like, oh, darn, I wanted more fun, different ones. Get involved with community hackathons, volunteer. You can volunteer at ProductCamp, present, host, you can do what I'm doing. Obviously, it does take talent. But also focus. This is one of the things I really stress. Focus, don't go broad and shallow. Go narrow and deep. I've seen a lot of people who's like, apply, right? Don't do that. It's not going to benefit you. They're not going to answer, especially if you're doing it online. Build the networks. Focus, I tend to focus on 5 companies that I really care about, and I break them into tiers. And I for tier 1, I spend a lot of time, right? And I create dossiers, which I'll get into. And then of course the tier 4s or 5s, I gotta go crap, whatever. But I might just apply online. But don't try to spread yourself too thin during the job interview process. One thing I'll share is that so I've been through 2 job searches in the last 5 years, and about 3 years ago I did one, and it was shocking because it was the first time I did a job search in a long time, and it took 10 months. Yikes, right? And in that 10 months, I had 423 different points of contact for looking for a job. So that's an email, that's a conversation, that's an interview, that's an application, right? 423. From the moment I talked to the company that I eventually went with to the point I was hired was 6 months, right? So when I talk to people, this is serious here, when you're like looking after a monkey, you're getting stressed out, I'm like, you get used to it, all right? Product, think about it. For every 10 engineers, there might be 1 product person, right? Plus product people, you're the one who has the most power to completely destroy their company. So they're going to go slow. And most companies are fishing. So they're not really looking to catch anything. They're just like keeping the jobs opening and trying to feel the blood and the climate of the environment. So understand, this takes a lot of time, right? The last time I did a job search, actually it was this year. Started searching in January. I did 480 points of contact before I got my job. Yeah. Oh, you make me sad about myself. She's like, oh. And from the point that I talked to the company to the point I actually got hired was 6 months. Yeah. So what I'm saying is there's no faster. Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of you who like, I got a job before I left, or I got my company laid off a bunch of people and I got a job the next day. Well, you suck, okay? But for the most of the world, right? Okay, and I'm speaking to you, what was that lately? Spreetail, who got everybody like finding new jobs. Yeah, we wish, we're not like you. But anyways, by the way, a lot of friends who left Spreetail and got jobs very quickly, so I'm a little jealous. But I just want to say that's not normal. This is normal, okay? So make sure your budgets and your savings account for that, because we are in a role that's really exciting, but there's a lot of competition. Companies hire slow, and just be aware of that. Okay, so applying. Use your networks. Again, I say that again. Referrals are always best. Unless you suck, then just apply, right? But if you suck, you might want to consider an alternative job disposition. Use third-party recruiters. These are the ones I know: Mark Cunningham, Alan Bustow, Hire Started Talent Pair. Does anybody know any other really great third-party recruiters that they want to shout out right now? None? Okay, well, whatever. This is Austin. If you apply on the website, if it's an ATS, use a T-chart, and then pray. Seriously. Okay, let's talk about interviews. Researching companies. This is my research. Right there. It's dramatic, wasn't it? Dramatic. Every time I go in an interview, I fill the research for this, and this binder's full. This is actually a small one because it was my last interview and I was tired. But they're usually full. I go in an interview, I open this sucker up, I pull out my resume, hand it to them, and I turn to all the details. I'm like a Russian spy. I have to know everything about you, right? And I open that up, and they freak because they know I prepare. Part of what a product person does is prepare, right? And so I prepare a lot, as you can see. And that's, this is not all of it. This is like that I could just fit in my hand as I was running out the door this morning. So open that up, right? Company info link.
Digital?
Is it what?
Have you thought of going digital?
No, because they can't see it then. It's about drama, okay? Company info, LinkedIn profiles, notes, questions for interviewers, each interviewer, teams, product, engineering, so on. Resumes to hand out, articles I've written, examples of work, homeworks, props, use props, okay? Interview styles. So these are the type of interview styles I've run into for product. Austin's pretty much is you're waving your hand, I see it. Okay, I'm gonna run over a little bit. I want a friend questions. How many of you have just pretty much had I want a friend questions in Austin? I pretty much have. These are the type of questions, I mean, it's really sad. When you go interview with Google and you're like, my brain's being stressed, and you go here to Austin and it's like, will you be my teammate? Like can you be my comrade and fight against these stakeholders? Like, that's the feeling I get here in Austin. And I think, and I'm speaking to you, people who run teams here, we need to up the bar in Austin. We need to up the bar a lot. Like, we can be relaxed, we can have fun in Austin, that's fine. You bring your pet to work, whatever makes you happy. But we need to raise the bar in product. And as product managers interviewing for these companies, we have to raise the bar on what we expect from a company. I've turned down several companies because the interviews were too easy. Scares the hell out of me when the interview's too easy. Because I'm like, who is the other people you hired? Right? Seriously, that's what I think. And I've said no, and I've said no to a lot of money, and my mom said I was stupid. So it's very traumatic to me to have to say no, but I've said it, okay. So then you have real behavioral questions, you know those, product design questions, estimation, analytical, case studies, technical questions. These are all the different types. You can Google those, and you can ask me. I have study guides for all of these. Okay, strategy, phone interview. So, I mean, phone interview is just a filter, right? Just communicate well. I'm being honest, like, so 90% of the people I help interview are not from America. Now, I don't know what that says about Americans, whether they're not motivated to study, maybe. I actually kind of wonder that sometimes. But like all these study groups that I create online, most of them are from another country. And so I'm a brutal guy. I tell them, you have an accent, right? And this is going to be a disadvantage to you over your phone. So I actually help them practice pronunciating, right? Because that's part of the interview. Because you need to communicate over the phone. Phone is really difficult. I once had a Google interview. It was horrible. It was like the whole time, right? I couldn't understand the guy, and I just started making up answers. And I passed. That's the funny thing. I actually passed. And I kind of wondered, is that a strategy? Because I've heard other people have horrible, I mean, it's Google. You think they'd have good phones, right? So maybe so, but like communication is key, not only in your accent or language, but like your illustrations, you gotta paint pictures of words. So be sure to be able to do that. Learn beforehand their style of interviewing, so you gotta learn what kind of questions they're gonna ask. Austin's very, very behavioral, like I said, we wanna be your friend. And do your best to get them to do video interview because you can have much more, create empathy in the user if you do video. I generally demand video, and then if they say no, then I'm like, okay, whatever. Okay, homework assignments. Hiring managers, you should be giving homework assignments. If you get a homework assignment, awesome, because you can start, you're raising a hand.
I'm sorry, I think you told 126.
Yeah, I'm running over. We'll give you 5 more minutes, almost done here.
No problem.
So, on a homework assignment, go hog wild. If they say, only spend an hour on this, they lie. Okay? They lie. Spend a lot of time on it and get it done and do it right. So don't do well. Okay? So that's all I'm gonna say on this. Strategy on site, bring the notebook, bring props, things to show them. You know, because sometimes in Google they ask you, talk about a physical item and how you would improve it. It just so happens I have a KitchenAid mixer here in my hand. You know, I mean, you know, it happens. I've done it. Not the KitchenAid mixer, that'd be fun. Whiteboards, you gotta learn to be the master of the whiteboard. Know their style, do 100+ mock interviews. Seriously, do 100+ mock interviews. Do 100+ mock interviews. You will thank me, you will get the job. And then, this is something new someone recommended to me, but I do believe it's right. Do a 30, 60, 90-day plan on how you would join, onboard, and make impact in the first 90 days. Have it on one sheet of piece of paper, and at the end of your interview, hand it to them and like drop in the mic and leave, right? Nobody else is gonna do that. Unless you
Well, except for the other 40 people.
Exactly. Know that company, know there's interview styles, all interviews. So just because you think these companies are great, I've had really horrible interviewers that I would not have hired myself. And so just understand, at the end of the day, you may have rocked it and you still may not have passed it. Yeah, it happens. Don't cry. This is the biggest thing I could probably say. Interviewing is improv. If you can take improv classes here in Austin, I highly recommend it. Because it's fake. I mean, seriously, it's fake. Let's be honest. Interviewing is fake. They're gonna say, can you create a strategy for X, Y, and Z and market and this doing this, that, and the other? And you're like, you have 5 minutes. It's faking. You're blowing it, you know, you're just faking it, right? That's improv. Okay? No one expects you to come up with a strategy to enter Brazil with a new VR headset made for the lower class. Real question. Right? They're wanting to know how you approach it, but also, like, it's improv. So learn how to improv. You're not going to solve world peace in a 20-minute interview. Okay? Whiteboarding. So I'm going to go through this quickly. I know every inch of the whiteboard, and I know every inch where I'm going to use what. And when I start an interview, and if it's a question, for example, a product design question, I actually write my outline. And I'm saying, okay, quick, this is how I think about this. And I write up here, and like, let's talk about number one. People in interviews, they don't understand. Hiring managers have a lot of interviews. They're tired. I'm tired when I'm in an interview, right? And so by doing this, I don't get lost, but also they don't get lost. And so I'm like, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 3, step 4, step 5. This is my recommendation. Write it down here, circle it. And then while I'm actually writing over here, my answers to each one of these. And then this is my Google space, right? And I rewrite the question at the top, and I put what is the ultimate goal that I want, so that by the time I get down here, this should meet that. It's called keep it organized during a whiteboard session, so that you don't get lost in an interview, and they don't get lost in an interview. And when you ask, does this answer that question that you agreed to at the very beginning when I asked you? And they're like, yes, thank you. Okay, so that's what you do. And you just get them to agree all the way through, and it does really well. There's estimation and analytical. So you rewrite the question, what do I know? What am I kind of guessing at? What don't I know? And what are some of the edge cases? And then I do my doodle math, and I write the calculation in words, and then I do the math, and whoop, all done. Okay, prioritization, similar thing. Engage the interviewer. So all interviews are secretly asking, like, do I want to work with this person? Right? That's what they're asking. So collaboration is key. Engage with them. Give them your opinion. This is important. Don't ask them questions that you have not already answered. Okay? Because now in real life, we know as product managers, we want to foster brainstorming. So we ask questions that we have not answered. We might even have the answer, but we didn't tell them. Right? But it's an interview is different. You have to say, I believe it's this. What do you think about this? Right? What that says is like, I have an opinion. This is my belief in my opinion. Now I can ask for your opinion. Right? It's really important in interviews to get them to collaborate, but also to know that you're not trying to fish for answers. You're just confirming your results. Yeah. Resources, Karmapon, ProductHired, PM interview, PRAMP, mockinterview.co, Product in Austin. These are all sites that you should use. They'll be on my site. Okay, questions. Sorry I ran over a little bit. That's impressive though, even for that time. Yes?
So in any interview, I guess you have done a lot of research. The first question that comes up is, tell me about yourself.